All right, so today we're diving into a name, DORA. And this one name tells two completely different stories separated by more than 100 years. But, and this is the interesting part, they're both about the same core idea, defending a realm. So when you hear the name DORA, what do you think of? I'm guessing for a lot of you, it's probably that cartoon character with the talking backpack, right? But as it turns out, that's barely scratching the surface. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. The name DORA has been slapped on everything from a massive World War II railway gun to a city in Alabama, a Tamil horror film, and even the bonus tiles in Japanese mahjong. Seriously. But nope, none of those are the DORAs we're here to talk about today. We're looking at two pieces of law that, on the surface, couldn't be more different, but they're connected by this really powerful theme. So let's meet the other DORA, the first one. And yeah, this has absolutely nothing to do with backpacks or maps. This is a story about state power on a scale that's kind of hard to imagine, and it all starts back in World War I. Right, here it is, the Defense of the Realm Act of 1914. And yep, you guessed it, DORA for short. Now get this, the British Parliament passed this thing just 4 days after the country jumped into World War I. It basically gave the government these incredible, sweeping powers to control, well, pretty much every part of your daily life. And it was all done in the name of national security. And you know, what's truly wild is just how far this control went. Under DORA, you could literally get in trouble for flying a kite, or starting a bonfire, or even just buying a pair of binoculars. It was illegal to feed bread to wild animals, talk about military stuff, or, get this, buy a drink on a train. We're talking about an insane level of social control, all justified by the war.
Okay, now let's fast forward a century. A brand new DORA has just shown up on the scene. But this time, the realm it's designed to protect isn't physical land, it's our digital financial world.
So, say hello to the Digital Operational Resilience Act. This DORA is a new EU law, and its mission is really straightforward. Make absolutely sure that banks, insurance companies, investment firms, the whole financial system can keep running, even if they get hit by a massive cyber attack, an IT meltdown, or pretty much any other digital disaster you can think of. But why was this needed? I mean, didn't they have rules already? Well, yeah, but that was the problem. Before DORA, every single country in the EU had its own little set of rules for digital risk and finance. It was this messy, confusing patchwork of different standards. DORA's whole point is to just wipe all that away and replace it with one single, common framework for everybody, a level playing field for resilience across the entire EU. Okay, so if you've been following the EU tech scene at all, you might be scratching your head right now thinking, hang on, what about NIS2? Doesn't that already cover cybersecurity? And that is an excellent question. It's a super common point of confusion, so let's break down how DORA and NIS2 fit together.
First off, you gotta understand the fundamental legal difference between them. See, NIS2 is what's called a directive. Think of it like a goal. The EU sets the goal, and then each member country has to write its own laws to achieve it. But DORA? DORA is a regulation. That's a whole different beast. It's a binding law that applies to everyone across the entire EU right out of the box. No translation needed.
And this table here really spells out the practical differences. DORA's scope, it is laser-focused, exclusively on the financial sector. That's it. NIS2, on the other hand, is way broader. It covers all sorts of other critical areas like energy, transport, and healthcare. And while NIS2 is all about general cybersecurity, DORA goes much, much deeper into managing ICT risks, system failures, and, this is the big one, your reliance on third-party tech suppliers.
So, okay, if you're running a financial firm, what does all this mean for you? What do you actually have to do to comply with DORA? Well, the whole thing is built on 5 core pillars that create this comprehensive shield for digital resilience. And here they are. First up, you need a solid ICT risk management plan. No excuses. Second, you have to report any major incidents to the authorities and fast. We're talking sometimes within hours. Third, you've got to be constantly testing your digital defenses, penetration tests, that kind of thing. Fourth is a huge one, managing the risk that comes from your third-party providers. And fifth, you need to be sharing threat intelligence with others in the industry. It's all about strengthening the herd.
Yeah, let's just pause on that fourth pillar for a second, because this is a massive, massive deal. DORA basically makes financial firms directly responsible for the digital health of their entire tech supply chain. Think about it. Your cloud providers like AWS or Azure, your software vendors, your data analytics platforms, all of them. You now have to know exactly who you're relying on and make sure they're up to DORA standards too. And look, this isn't some abstract thing to worry about in the future. The clock is ticking, and it's ticking loudly. And as we get closer to the deadline, this huge, high-stakes debate has blown up that could totally change how DORA is actually enforced. Just look at these dates. January 17th, 2025. That is the deadline for full compliance. And there are no extensions, no grace periods. It's a hard stop. Then, by the end of April, firms have to hand over a complete list of all their ICT providers. And from then on, reporting isn't a one-time thing, it's ongoing, quarterly and annually. And what happens if you don't comply? The penalties for getting this wrong are, well, they're huge. We're talking potential fines of up to 2% of a company's total annual global turnover. A number like that, yeah, that gets everybody's attention real fast. So all of this pressure has brought us to the heart of the current controversy. It's a question that seems almost ridiculously simple, but the entire regulation hinges on it. What exactly counts as an ICT service? And here's the argument, coming straight from a policy paper written by some of the biggest financial industry groups. They're pleading with the European Commission, saying, and I'm quoting here, "We strongly urge the Commission to clarify that financial services are not considered ICT services under DORA." They're trying to draw a very clear line in the sand. And make no mistake, this isn't some small squabble. We're talking about major players pushing back. Groups like the European Association of CCP Clearinghouses, the Federation of European Securities Exchanges, and the Association for Financial Markets in Europe. These guys represent a massive chunk of the entire European and global financial system. So what's the heart of their argument? Well, it boils down to this. They're saying, look, we are already heavily regulated as financial companies. If you start treating our tech-enabled financial services as ICT services under DORA, you're just creating a second overlapping layer of rules. It's redundant, it's confusing, and it's going to put European firms at a big disadvantage on the world stage. And that leaves us with this huge, fascinating question. As the digital world and the financial world basically become one and the same, where do you draw the line? Where does regulation stop and innovation get to breathe? You know, this whole debate over DORA, it feels like it's just the opening chapter in a much bigger story about how we're going to govern our digital future.